Hello, I'm Lawrence and welcome to this tutorial video on the role and mechanics of the finance director within the Shopper Mogul simulation game. So, first of all, congratulations on being appointed as the finance director. You're clearly the most trustworthy member of your team. Now, you have a rather unique role in the game in that alongside the CEO, the finance director very much plays a controlling role, overseeing the responsibilities of all of the other members of the team, as well as having some very interesting roles in terms of managing the relationships with both investors and occasionally with other companies. So you can access the finance director page either through this icon on the landing page, the managed company, or through the icon on the top. When you click there, it's going to take you to your company's offices, and you'll see that the finance director is one of the 5 directors in the game. So just in terms of a quick overview on the role, the CEO, they're there to set the overall strategy to decide where we're going to play. The marketing director looks after the portfolio of brands, creates products with equity with consumers. The pricing director's job is to work out how to leverage that equity to make money through having the right products to put in shops. The sales director has to get the right product into the shops. And all of these people are going to spend money. They're going to spend money on R&D, they're going to spend money on media, they're going to spend money on discounts, and some of those decisions are going to be better than others. So your role as the finance director is to make sure that all of those decisions add together to be a cohesive set of decisions that are going to make your company more valuable for its owner. So, when we look at the finance director's page, first of all, you have one particularly lovely chart, which is a great way of understanding the different strategic decisions that other companies in the game are making. Also a way of understanding at a glance how different companies are performing, and that's this profit and loss waterfall chart. So, at a glance, we can see for the entire market, based on last month's sales, how much revenue was being generated in entirety from all the categories in play, and how did that break down to different players. How did they spend that money on their cost of goods in order to get down to their gross margin? So how much money were they making in operating profit before investments? You can then see the investment choices each of the different teams are making. Now, at the start of the game, all of these are going to look quite small because, frankly, at the start of the game, none of the teams have started making any investments yet. But what we can see is that all the teams are spending some money on their ATL budget, that's to say their media budget, the money they're trying to make, the money they're spending to build awareness for their brands. They're also spending money on BTL, that's their below-the-line budget, their trade spend budget. So the money that they're spending to get their products available in the right place for their retailers. They're spending money on R&D. Every new project they initiate, whether it's a renovation of a brand or a pack or a new product, all of that adds in R&D costs. Also, if you spend money to buy insights, that goes into your R&D budget. And finally, you see the money that's being spent on overheads. Now, overheads is an interesting one because no one director makes the choice, but eventually you could say the CEO makes the choice. Your overheads are just proportional to how many categories you play in. The more categories you participate in, the more your overheads will expand. And in fact, they expand not just linearly, but exponentially, depending on how many categories you go into. So the more simple your business is, the cheaper it'll be. Actually, that's true across the board. Simple businesses don't require much media spend because they only have one brand. They don't require much trade spend because it's quite easy to get one brand listed. They don't spend lots of money creating new products. And as such, they have low R&D and their overheads are cheap because they only play in one category. So, from a pure investment perspective, doing nothing is clearly the best thing to do if you're only focused on cost. Now, obviously, we're not only focused on cost. Your objective is really to build up profits to a healthy level and more specifically, actually to build up the market capital of the company. Now, unlike any of the other directors, you have permanently on the left-hand side of your page the key KPIs from your P&L there. So at any moment you can see for the last month, what was your market share, revenue, gross margin, profit, and then key treasury KPIs as well. So how much money do we have in the bank? What's our strategy about how much money we're holding? What's our target amount to have? How much money is the bank prepared to lend to us? And how much money have we paid out in dividends this year? And finally, at the bottom, what's our current market capitalization? So what does the stock market think that our company is worth? Now, you, in some ways, are quite powerless to affect these numbers because obviously your revenues are all influenced by what your other directors choose to sell. Your cash, it's based on what the sales director is able to collect. But on the other hand, actually, you are in some ways the most influential person, not just because you get to go to them and say, oi, stop spending your money like that. We're spending too much money on trade spend. I think a different profile would be important. But also because you get, later on in the game, to make some key decisions around these treasury functions. So, what do I mean by that? At the start of the game, all companies have a strategy to hold £50,000 in reserves. Any money over that, at the end of every month, we automatically pay out to our shareholders. That's where our dividends come from. Now, our market capitalization, the value of our company, it's based on a number of factors. Investors look at the profits you generate, the revenues you generate, but they look at your cash on hand. But above anything else, what they really care about is your dividends. So, as finance director, you will get to make decisions on what your dividend policy is, except at the start of the game. There's a simple reason for that. At the start of the game, there's enough else to worry about. But later on, as the game gets going, we will unlock the ability for you to set what your target reserve level of cash to hold is, and therefore to influence what levels of cash holdings you're maintaining and what level of dividends you're paying out. Also, at the start of the game, you don't have the information at that point to understand what those impacts would be. But as I say, trust me, as the game goes on, you will get access to this. Now, what else can you do? You'll see here that you have an overdraft limit. Now, it's possible that you may need more money. Two reasons: you may be doing badly. You may be investing a lot. Or the other reason is you may need a war chest in order to go and fund some major acquisition. Now, if you need more borrowing capacity, then as the finance director, you can go to the game facilitator and say, I wish to request an overdraft. And that's going to result in a conversation. The bank may be amenable, they may have certain conditions they want, but it's for you to negotiate with that, with the facilitator in order to get access to the line of credit you require. Or alternately, you can change your dividend policy and build up your war chest organically. Now, why might we want to have a war chest? Well, that really comes to the second role that the finance director gets to play. The finance director manages the company's asset disposals and acquisition strategy. Again, at the start of the game, this is switched off. You can't actually complete any sales because, again, there's too much else to think about at the start, and frankly, it takes a while to learn what things are worth. However, later on in the game, this will become available, and you do have the chance to put your assets up for sale and to bid on other companies. Now, how does this work? So if you say, actually, Duff Beer, it's the only brand we've got, but potentially it may not be a strategic one. You can say, I wish to put this brand for sale, I'm offering it for sale, I will accept any bid over $100,000. And having done so, you have then set this product up for sale, and every other finance director in the game, when they look at the acquisition opportunities that are available, they'll see Duff Beer is now available at a certain offer price. Now, that doesn't mean that they automatically buy it, but they have the chance to submit bids. So if you see a product there that might be interesting to you, you can put in a bid on it. The bid has to at least exceed the minimum price. And as soon as you get an offer, the selling finance director can then think about it and decide whether or not to accept it. Now, be very, very careful with this. It's a critical part of the game because it's part of reality of how consumer goods work. You need to have the opportunity to dispose of non-strategic assets. You need to have the ability to round out your portfolio through acquisitions. But there's a reason we don't allow this at the start of the game, because you can also destroy a huge amount of value if you sell a successful brand for too little money. So before you even think about this, really look at your market capitalization, look at the money that your brands are creating, and decide for yourself, what level of shareholder value you should associate with this particular brand. Okay, so I hope that was useful. As I say, for me, the finance director's main role in the company is really as the overall controller, the custodian of the investment profile, as well as having this sort of sexy role as the key person in negotiating with other companies for brands and with banks for overdrafts. But it's really the controlling role that's probably for the first part of the game going to be most important. Engross yourself in every other decision that's going on. Don't allow this R&D bucket start exploding with lots of new brands being launched until you've really satisfied yourself that these are good decisions that the rest of your team wants to make. Be your CEO's right-hand man in controlling spend. So with that, I hope that was helpful, and I wish you good luck with the rest of your session.